Today is Wednesday, November the 2nd, 2016. And a lot of people online are triggered right now. The black community, many in the so-called Black Lives Matter. I like to call them Black Lies Matter, Lies, not telling the truth, not telling you what's really going on with the state of Black America and America as a whole. But I digress. This little segment of the online world of Twitter, Facebook, or whatever, they are upset at this interview on Nightline from Mr. Lil Wayne. Now, if you don't know who Lil Wayne is a rapper. He's been around for a very long time, since like the, I want to say late 90s, like 98, 99. He was like 14 or 15 out there rapping about guns, drugs, violence, etc. Not judging, just saying. And the reason why I'm saying it, you'll kind of understand as we progress into the video. Now, the reason why they're triggered is because of the interview he had in which he said that he doesn't really agree too much with Black Lives Matter. Now, before I get into it, before I really break it down and give my thoughts on it, I want to play a clip of the actual interview. I don't have the full interview here, but it did come on Nightline. And by the time I'm done with this video, I should have a link to the full interview in the description box below. So before we go too deep into it, go ahead and roll it.
What's your thought on Black Lives Matter?
What is it? What do you mean?
The idea is that there's this movement called Black Lives Matter, thinking that the rest of America didn't seem to understand that Black Lives Matter.
It just sounds weird. I didn't know that you put a name on. It's not a name. It's not whatever. It's somebody got shot by police and for a up reason. I am a young, black, rich. If that don't let you know that America understand Black matter these days, I don't know what it is. That man white, he filming me. I don't know what you mean, man. Don't come at me with that dumb man. My life matter, especially to my.
Do you feel, though, connected to?
I don't feel connected to a damn thing that ain't got nothing to do with me. If you do, you crazy as you, not the camera, you. Feeling connected to something that ain't got nothing to do with you. If it ain't got nothing to do with me, I ain't connected to it.
All right, so you're able to see the video. You see kind of the gist of what's happening. You know, obviously that was not the full interview, but you see generally what's going on. Now, people are upset. They're calling him a coon, Uncle Tom. They're saying that he's out of touch with the black community, etc. But I want to know, first of all, what did he really say that was wrong? What does Black Lives Matter got to do with Lil Wayne? Really? I mean, what does it got to do with anybody that's not really affiliated with the group directly? It's just a group, you know. And what he was saying in the interview, he was like, look, why does it have to be some type of thing? You know, my life matters. I'm black and it matters, just like anybody's life would matter. And he's talking about how racism isn't the real thing. He had another interview before where he talked about how a white cop had saved his life.
At the age of 12 years old, I shot myself. I was in the house. Police knocked on the door. I was right there. They knocked the door down. Everybody jumped over my body to go get the guns and drugs and whatever they could find. It took one guy to stop right there and cuss everybody that hopped over me out. Like, what the f are y'all doing? They said, oh, no, we was going to see if it, what the f are y'all doing? We called the ambulance. A ambulance, do you not see this kid on the floor with this hole in his chest? He said, you drive, pick me up, brought me to the hospital. He didn't drop me off at the ambulance and say, you take him. He brought me to the hospital room and made two and stood there and waited till the doctor said he's gonna make it. He said, don't worry, my name's Uncle Bob. He was white as snow. Them that hopped over me was blacker than me.
Was he a cop?
Yeah, he was a cop, and my life was saved by a white man. I don't know what racism is. I know a good name Uncle Bob, though.
So if you got a situation where you have a white cop saving his life, and black cops, mind you, were the ones that jumped over him when he shot himself accidentally. There was a black cop that jumped over him looking for the guns and the drugs, and the white cop that brought him to the hospital. And then him being rich and famous, you go to his shows, most of the crowd is white, even though he has stereotypically black music, which is my next point I want to make. Why is the black community online so triggered about this, but they're not triggered about his lyrics? Now, me personally, I'm not really one of them guys that get on rappers and entertainers and whatnot for their lyrics too much. You know, I think that it doesn't really help. A lot of people say that destructive lyrics and rap destroy the black community. I'm not really sure about that because the reality is, like I said earlier, if you go to his concerts, the majority of the crowd is white. So the lyrics do not seem to be affecting the white kids as much as the black kids. The reason why the black kids are struggling has much more to do with their home environment and less to do with the actual music that they consume. But I digress. My whole point is that if you're going to be a stickler for what an entertainer says, then why not be a stickler for what they say all the time? You know, you got lyrics about raping women, not from Lil Wayne, but from other rappers. You got lyrics from Lil Wayne talking about guns, drugs, violence, etc. all throughout his whole career. But yet somehow you want to take right now to be triggered. It's stupid. It's like, come on, why be triggered at this moment here? And I think the explanation for that is the whole hive mind groupthink mentality. If you just think with a pack and you don't have your own independent thought, it's easy to just go out there and say, oh, I'm triggered, I'm offended what Lil Wayne said. Meanwhile, what he said was nothing compared to his lyrics and his music, right? I mean, he's been to jail, he's been on drugs. So I don't understand why now you want to pick the time to be offended. I mean, come on. And then his record label, Young Money, that's Drake and Nicki Minaj. Now, if you ever seen Nicki Minaj, I mean, that's not necessarily the kind of girl you want to bring home to your mama, right? I mean, you're talking about Madonna on steroids and other kind of drugs to enhance her. I mean, you got all kind of breast augmentation, butt augmentation. She's been on stage, essentially nude, twerking at a charity concert, by the way, talking about vote for Hillary Clinton, you know, and then somehow the left wants to accuse the right of being somehow, you know, the morally reprehensible people. Meanwhile, look at how they behave. My whole point is that you have a lot of contradictions that are happening. You got the black community that's all up in arms, all triggered about what Lil Wayne said because he does not really identify with Black Lives Matter. And the truth is, he didn't really say anything that inflammatory about the so-called organization. He was just like, look, I'm not really a part of that. That's nothing to do with me. Now, if you want to cape for something that has nothing to do with you, then something's wrong with you. But he didn't really say anything that inflammatory about him specifically for their organization. But people still somehow got triggered. But they're not getting triggered at his lyrics. They're not getting triggered at the people that are on his label, like Nicki Minaj dancing basically nude, twerking on stage, shaking their butt in front of kids and everything else. You know, the whole record label talking about drug usage. Rick Ross, who is like a rapper friend of Lil Wayne, talking about spiking women's drinks with drugs and raping them in the lyric. A lot of the guys go to jail a lot. I don't understand why you want to take right now to be triggered. The only thing I can say is that you are just having a hive mind mentality. And see, that's why I'm here. That's why I was basically brought to the stage, is because I represent a different way of thinking in the black community. There's a lot of us out there that think differently, not necessarily just like me or just like Lil Wayne or just like anybody else. You just think differently. I think diversity of thought is very important. You know, a lot of these same people that are getting triggered by Lil Wayne and what he said, they're some of the same ones that be out there marching for so-called diversity, but really they look at it in a bastardized way. They look at that word in the bastardized form of it. They look at diversity as less white people and more blacks involved in whatever's going on, which I'll get to in a different video about Mr. John Oliver and this whole thing about school segregation. They look at diversity as less whites, but the truth is diversity should mean, or it does mean, a variety of different kinds of people, different thoughts, different backgrounds, different cultures, religions, or whatever. You know, that could be ethnic diversity, which is a whole different thing. But what I'm saying is, my whole point is that if you want to have diversity, it can't just be, well, less whites. We need to have diversity within the black community before we try to preach diversity anywhere else. And that means diversity of thought, diversity of feeling, diversity of religion, or whatever it is. I can think differently than you, and you can think differently than me, and that's fine. We can have debates, we can have arguments or whatever. It can't just be this low IQ, small-minded, primitive way of thinking where it's just like, okay, I disagree with you, so now I hate you. And now you're a coon, Uncle Tom, sellout, or whatever. Those are just words that people that are not able to debate with somebody on an intellectual level use to dismiss you. It's easier to just not do with somebody on an intellectual level when you do not have that ability to do so, rather than to try and do it. You know, it's just like if somebody's speaking to you in a foreign language, it's easy just to ignore them rather than trying to speak their language. You have no ability to speak their language. So all you can do is ignore them. It's the same thing going on here with all these names that they're throwing at people like myself and Lil Wayne, because they can't argue with him on the actual details of what he was saying. So that's pretty much all I got. You know, this is really just another instance of the Black Hive Mind mentality, the black group thought, the Democrat thought plantation just coming to a head, rearing its ugly head. A lot of people are triggered and hypocritical simultaneously. You're triggered at what Lil Wayne said about Black Lives Matter, but you're not triggered at his lyrics. And like I said earlier, I'm not really one to get so triggered and offended at lyrics, but if you're going to be criticizing what a rapper says, don't just let it be at certain times that benefit you. You know, look at the whole thing all the way. If you're going to open the door, let's open the door. Let's not leave it cracked halfway open. Let's open it all the way and explore all of what's going on and all of what someone says if we're going to be offended. So what do you think? Do you think my assertion is on point about Lil Wayne and his thoughts about Black Lives Matter, and also the hypocrisy that goes on when it comes to the Black Lives Matter group being offended at what he said? Or am I a coon, Uncle Tom, sellout, whatever you low IQ individuals want to call me? You know, I'm playing about the whole low IQ thing, but at the same time being kind of serious. If that's your assertion of me, then give me a detailed and well thought out debate response in the comments below. Like I've said in other videos, I've challenged many of you that want to call me these names to have a well thought out response in the comments, and I read the comments, so I'll be responding to you. And if you're not able to do it, then I already know what time it is. If you want to call me a name and not be able to back it up with facts, that just verifies what I say about people that are not able to debate with somebody on an intellectual level, calling them names. So I'm done for now. Whatever your comments are, let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.